Hi everyone, I hope you're really well and enjoying all the seasonal content we've got for you at the moment. What I love if I can, in one tutorial, create something that is both something you want to paint, but also giving you a really good exercise of a watercolour technique, and I've got one for you today. So today we're going to paint this beautiful little autumnal heart, but we are doing it with one colour and looking at the value scale, which means how light or dark a colour goes depending on how diluted it is with water. So grab your paints and let's get started. So I've got quite a small piece of paper here. It is 4.5 by 5 inches. And what I've done is I have marked out a bottom point, a sort of width, a widest width, and a central line. And essentially what I'm going to try and do is join them all up in a heart shape. And it's not going to be too problematic if the heart is not sort of perfectly symmetrical, like this is not. Why is it so easy to draw one side and so impossible to draw the other? I mean, I do know the answer, because it's just sort of, you're coming at it from one side and you've got a natural ease on one side and not on the other. But that's pretty good. And now I just want to rub a little bit of the extra sketch line out. And also I want to just reduce the pencil line, because the heart outline itself is going to become a key part of the drawing. And what I'm going to do is think about autumnal icons, like leaves, acorns, mushrooms, that kind of thing, maybe a few nice little flowers. And I'm going to use the curve of the stems to sort of create a lovely little sort of heart-shaped tableau. So, for example, I can do a nice sort of cosmos shape flower here. So it's quite rare for me. I'm drawing the full shape, but that's because we're going to be doing outlined pieces. I think I'll do a little bud there. I'm now going to maybe place in, let's try just a nice sort of autumn leaf. Sort of keep it maybe bigger on this side and smaller on that one. And then I'm just going to gradually kind of build up things. I might put a little mushroom in there. You can see how I'm sort of just starting to build things up, and I quite like the idea of having an acorn sort of right in the middle of the whole piece. So remember, if you are not into drawing, you can pause the video at the point where you want to take a screenshot, and you can use that as your traceable. So as you can see, I'm just trying to get in the sort of nooks and crannies of where I've already drawn. So I'm just trying to fit it all together. I think we'll have some berries here. Berries are brilliant for filling in gaps that you want filled. So there you go. If you want to pause the video, now is the moment to take a screen grab and just get your template. And now I am going to use my kneadable eraser to roll over the top just look at the difference it makes for your painting. So it's so important to reduce the pencil heaviness before you paint in watercolour. And I'm often talking about how it is possible to rub pencil out after it has been painted over, because a lot of people are insistent that you can't. But the reason I say that is because before I've painted, I have done a lot of this beforehand, so it's not just heavy old pencil. Okay, so today this piece is all about exploring the values of colour. And what I mean by that is how light and dark they can go. So we're going to use Pyrrole Orange as our example. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wake up Pyrrole Orange and put it in my palette here. And you can see it's really strong and vibrant. But if I just took a little bit of that and placed it in a separate well and really diluted it down, you can see we get a very different colour, a much more gentle, dilute, pale, transparent colour. And with watercolour, often is the case that you start your paintings by painting the lighter colours first. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this light Pyrrole Orange to place in a base wash on these colours. Now that doesn't just mean colouring in, there's still a chance to get lots of texture in here. So for example with this acorn, I sort of started painting it in, and then I'm just using the brush to dab a bit of texture there on the acorn, and then I'm going to use the sort of long smooth strokes to create the lovely smooth shiny texture of the nut. And then we could always do just a little bit of sort of texture and roundness on this mushroom, so sort of using it for shadowy purposes, or on the oak leaf here, just sort of a little bit here and there. We really want to start nice and pale, and of course we can leave some unpainted space because that's the palest of all. And yeah, so I'm just going to work my way through, and we're going to use a single colour and the value scale to create this lovely piece just by increasing the concentration of the colour on each layer. I'm using a size 2 brush, which seems to be working really nicely. But of course, if you want to use a smaller brush for more control, that's fine. But just remember, you want to try not to be overworking and using your brush with tons of brush strokes. So I've done a little swatch there so we can see how the colours progress with the value scale. I'm also going down to a size 0 brush because I want a bit more control. So this time I'm going to be going just a little bit deeper with the colour, but it still feels like I'm going to be, it's still quite a sort of dilute colour, so it's maybe more of a glaze. And I will be adding these elements of colour. It's still quite sort of soft and gentle what I'm doing. It's not a huge amount of detail. But I do need that slightly smaller brush to be able to get that control a little bit better. So you could, if you wanted, have painted straight into the wet colour, but for this exercise, the real sort of benefit of it comes from allowing things to dry a little bit. And so on this mushroom, I've did the little spots there. On this one, what I might do is I might wait until we're at the stage where we're adding in a lot more detail with a darker colour. But you can see I can add a little bit of detail at this stage. And then for something like the acorn, this is definitely an opportunity to add more texture. And now the final stage, I go down a size of brush, so I'm now on 4/10, and the colour, well, I'm going to use my larger brush to mix it. What we need is something more concentrated to layer up, and you can see how much stronger and deeper and darker it is, but also how much thicker it is. And it is important when you get to the point where you're doing like detail and layering that you haven't got too much water on the brush. You just want like a slightly damp brush and paint which has got a little bit of fluidity in it, but not too much. And then it means now that we're not just outlining. I mean, obviously that is very important, but we are really bringing home the textures, the details that we might not have put in yet. And this is a really good rule for watercolour painting in general, that the way in which we approach a piece is we start with a larger brush and a lighter colour, and then we gradually deepen the colour and shrink the size of the brush. And it means that we gain control as we intensify the colour that we're working with. There's always going to be some exceptions to the rule, or you might even find that you've got more stages in you. There are plenty more steps on the value scale for Pyrrol Orange, but we're just doing a nice sort of simplified version today. But it is incredible how just using one colour and its different values can really create the most amazing depth, detail and variation in the colour as well. Just look at that compared to all the rest of it. It really does stand out. So we can use obviously the pencil lines you've already drawn, but if there are like little extra areas that you suddenly go, oh, I think I might just add in a little extra something here or there, then you can absolutely do that too. And the great thing about keeping it so simple with this single colour is you know that the colour palette is going to work because it's just one colour. But sometimes that can be something that really flummoxes people when they're planning a piece, trying to choose colours. And I mean, we do have lots of tutorials on that, and my new book, you will be able to paint with watercolour by the end of this book, goes into great detail with choosing colour palettes, but it also gives lots more examples of this kind of thing, of being able to just cleverly use the value scale. I'll do the oak leaf. So I can outline and use it for, use this colour for leaf veins and details and things, but we can also use it for a little bit of texture, a little bit of sort of hatching like this, what we call these little lines for extra shadow. And then this is cross hatching. It's kind of self-explanatory. It's quite a common way to do shadow in a more sort of sketchy, drawing focused way. Even though your paint is concentrated, you still want it to have a good amount of liquidity so that you can paint nice smooth lines. And have the paint really flow off it like a felt tip pen. So yeah, just enjoy filling in all of the details that you can see that you have drawn, and ones that you haven't as well. So for example, here we've got a little conker. And then just finishing off with some leaves, and even though the pencil line's there, I'm just going to send it that way because I want to try and make sure I've got a nice even distribution of sort of shapes within the heart, and then also making sure that we really spell out the outer line as well. And that looks rather lovely. So what we're going to do now is we're going to let it dry 100%, rub out the pencil with our hard eraser, and then we'll be able to see if there's any tiny little gaps we want to pop anything in. Like I can sort of see something there, possibly there, but you know, I think until you've rubbed out the pencil, you're not really going to see. So I think that is totally gorgeous. The only place where I feel like I want a little something extra is just here. I'm just going to place a little leaf in there and a little conker in there. And that feels great. So there you go, a lovely little snapshot of autumn using the value scale of one colour. And don't forget the great rule that with watercolour, you start with a light colour and a large brush, then you get, whoops, oh, that was going to work really well. Light colour, large brush, medium colour, medium brush, concentrated colour, small brush. There we go. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe and let me know how you got on with this one. And of course, if you haven't already checked out my brand new book, You'll Be Able to Paint with Watercolour, there are loads more really fun projects that are actually masquerading as fantastic technique tutorials. So you can get signed copies in my Etsy shop and website shop. Just head to the episode notes below for all the information, and I'll see you again next time. Bye!